That's the only French I'll speak in the interest of brevity because there's approximately 0 chance that I will be on time. So I'm going to go through this as quickly as I can. I'm already kind of a motor mouth, and so I apologize in advance. Bose AR, I am here to tell you about that. And this slide, very briefly, is just a little bit about why I'm standing on stage. Essentially, my background is in XR, artificial intelligence, and developer platforms. And this effort, as you will hopefully find out shortly, touches on all 3 aspects there. Also, this functions as my business card, so if you think you might want to get info and exchange info afterwards, just take a screenshot of this or a picture. I'll also throw it up at the end here. Go like this for a second. There you go. All right. Okay, this is what we're going to talk about. What is Bose AR? Products and platforms. And we're going to talk a little bit about experiences, and then we're going to wrap up with how you can get involved. Yes, this is a shameless plug and product pitch. I was asked to give that, so I'm happy to. Okay, so when we're talking about what is Bose AR, we have to first talk about what it isn't. It is not screen-based VR. I think that much is obvious, but I would also say that it's not meant to be screen-based phone augmented reality, although it does function via mobile apps. What it is audio augmented reality. What that actually means functionally from an architectural perspective and from a hardware perspective is that we ship wearables that have a little sensor bundle, an IMU bundle, that consists of these 3 guys. An accelerometer, a gyroscope, and a magnetometer. And these allow us to do things that are very similar to what your mobile phone can do, such as understand what direction you're looking in, if you're moving around, and do some gesture recognition. This is just a brief slide about the interaction between the data that you can get from a Bose AR-enabled application running on the wearable and how it works with the mobile app. Sorry, this is extremely awkward. Gestures, so it interacts via gestures. This is the first one. This is how it looks on one of our devices called Frames. It's a double tap in this case, but it's called input because it supports multiple input methods. There are different ones according to different devices, and a developer can simply call it if they want some interactability in their app via this function. Also affirmative and negative, which right now on all devices is head nod, head shake. And the cool thing about this is developers can just enable this in code by calling a function. They don't have to do a bunch of parameters and understand, to what degree someone is shaking their head. We do all that hard work for them. But then, of course, there's also the possibility for developers to just read the raw data from the sensors and create custom gestures. So we've had, and I'll talk a little bit about examples of this later, we've had developers do everything from turnaround gesture, duck, jump, jumping jacks, push-ups, sit-ups, to something as silly as a sup motion. Sup, if you don't know what that is this. That's sup. All right, let's talk a little bit about products and platforms. So we ship Bose AR in 3 products currently. This is the first one. You may have seen this. They're most closely aligned with what Bose AR is because they were the first product we launched. We launched it late last year. They're called Bose Frames, and they are sunglasses with sound. They do not have a screen. Just want to put that out there. And here's a little hype video in case you're not already excited about Frames.
Sunshine dripping down my face.
And we have the little Bose AR sensor bundle in them. We also, I should say, I get asked a lot if these are available in Europe, and I triple confirmed. You can check the link yourself. It's a press release we put out in May. They are available broadly in Europe if you're interested in picking up a pair. This is another device that we ship Bose AR sensors in as of November of 2018. These are called the Quiet Comfort 35-2 series. If you've ever been on a plane and passed the business class section, you may have seen somebody wearing these. They're our most popular wearable that we ship, and we started putting the sensors in them as of November. We didn't change the price, we didn't really tell anybody, and then we announced it at a large conference called South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, earlier this year, that there was a firmware update available that would enable Bose AR features. We'll get into what enabling Bose AR features is in just a bit, but suffice it to say, this is the second product that supports Bose AR. And this is the third, the recently announced noise canceling 700 series. And I'm just going to play a brief introduction video to this guy. This came out late June.
I've always done the best I could to get out of my neighborhood. Growing up, I spilled my blood, but
Text John, I'm on my way home.
you can knock me off my feet, but I won't stop now. You can take a seat. You can knock me off my feet, but I won't stop now.
Good day, good day. Nice by the field.
Lovely. Bye.
Kicking the cannons, we watch them fall. It doesn't exist. The love.
So they have a few premium features. This is meant to exist in a new super premium category for us, such as touch panel, like you could see configurable noise cancellation, better noise isolation with microphones, which is generally a huge problem with Bluetooth wireless microphones, and of course, Bose AR sensors. So those are the products that we have shipped so far. Essentially, that makes it every single wearable we have produced or refreshed since late last year. And you can expect that trend to continue. We're very serious about shipping Bose AR products worldwide, as many as we can. We've committed to 1 million this year. I think we've already just about, if not completely blown past that number, and we're not going to stop anytime soon. This is a huge, important thing for the company strategically. And we also have a new promise to make, which is around delivering useful experiences that actually enhance your day-to-day, right? So the difference between our Target XR platform and others in market is that we kind of have the luxury of the fact that people already wear these all the time, just habitually, right? So it's a much lower barrier of entry if you're an application developer, if you want to build something, maybe a Bose AR feature or a dedicated application to get users to use it, because we have a vested interest in also attracting users to the great content that developers put out for Bose AR, and in a lot of cases, they're already wearing the devices. It's not like I have to go purchase this headset in order to download this application, and then in order to use it, I have to put it on my face, right? There's a lot more friction involved with that. Not to say that that's not something that's coming down a lot. I personally own an Oculus Quest, and it's easier than ever to get into these sorts of things, but you know, we have our phones on us all the time, and a lot of times we're wearing Bluetooth wireless devices as well. Okay, so platforms. We support iOS and Android deployment. It's all mobile right now, and also via Unity. So most of us here are probably familiar with Unity if we're in the XR space. Sorry, I'm trying to stay in the light. All right. And so you can use Unity to deploy cross-platform. What's even more interesting about Unity is, similar to if you're building a VR or an AR application, it's surprisingly useful to be able to visualize an audio soundscape, if that makes sense. It's a lot easier to kind of naturally understand. We're spatial creatures. I think we all in this room understand that, those of us who are interested in immersive technologies. And so the fact that you can kind of lay it out visually, I would say gives it a leg up on our native SDKs in terms of quick prototyping and being able to see what it can do. And also, of course, cross-platform support. We'll actually be at Unite Copenhagen in a few short weeks. If anybody's headed there, we'll be showing off a lot of new content that I won't get to in this slide, as well as some exciting announcements. Okay, so let's talk about the apps. These are some of the app icons of apps that are already either in the Google Play or the iOS App Store. Some, most, not all of these. Some of them are still in test flight. And let's talk a little bit about apps from a few different categories that we see as sort of repeatable things where Bose AR fits really nicely. And hopefully these will help to kind of bring the platform into focus. We talked a little bit about the hardware side, a little bit about the software interaction, how the SDKs read the data, et cetera. But what does that all mean in the real world? We're starting to find out. So these are 3 apps in the travel space that I'm familiar with. Autocast on the left is a walking tour application that already existed, and they added a Bose AR feature that allows you to spatially discover walking tours. So imagine you're walking outside with a pair of frames on your head, you have the application open, and you hear a ping off in the distance to the left. And so you look there, and it's on an old historic theater, maybe in Crans, Montana. And so you walk up to it, and then when you get into a geofenced region, it will read you the title and a brief description of the tour. And if you want to take the tour, you can double tap to actually take the tour. And you can leave your phone in your pocket for this entire process. You don't have to stare at a screen. One less screen we have to stare at for a function that we do. Walk and Naviguide are similar, and I'm going to talk more about Naviguide because I think this is a really cool use case. It hasn't been perfected by anybody yet, but they're the first that I've seen to kind of enable it. You can try it yourself. Naviguide is obviously a navigation application, and they added a Bose AR feature that essentially, in my mind, is audio Yelp. So it uses the Yelp API to pull in information about places that you're looking at. Using the magnetometer on the device, it understands what direction you're looking, north, south, east, west. Using the GPS from your phone, it can basically triangulate what am I looking at, and then if, let's say I'm looking at a restaurant, maybe, forget what it's called, the fondue place that's near here, Le Chalet, maybe, I can just double tap and it will pull in from Yelp. Oh, this has, 45 five-star ratings. Say, okay, I want to go there. And all this while you can leave your phone in your pocket. Maybe you're with friends, so it just allows you to have a more seamless information gathering session, I guess. And so this is a pattern, especially with the outdoor aspect, that we think there's a lot of untapped potential with. There's a lot of desire for us not to have to take our phone out of the pocket and just go like this constantly for very minuscule things we want to do. And there's definitely, one of the reasons I joined the company, an addition by subtraction thing in effect here. When we take away the screen and the focus on the eyeballs in order to make something happen, it really frees up that sense for us to kind of exist in the world and feel a lot more present. I think audio is a great other sense to target, along with some gesture interaction, in order to be able to pull us out of screens. That's a mission I'm very much on board with. So moving on to sport and wellness. A lot of this stuff is about gestures, but the first one I'm going to talk about is Golf Shot, because this is actually available in the app stores, and it has a Bose AR feature which will essentially assist you when you're on the green and give you tips about, how to hit a shot or what sort of iron to use, etc. And you enable it, and it will actually understand what direction you're looking in and where you are. Similar technological scenario, but a very different use case, obviously. And there's probably dozens of these that we haven't seen so far, but this is another one where it can give you specific advice on the activity you're doing, in this case, golf. New Balance and Headspace are both demos. New Balance has a demo where it's basically a rep counter. So you're wearing the device in your head, you're doing push-ups, and it's giving you encouragement and recognizing when you've done a push-up. Headspace, the demo that they showed was, anybody here familiar with Headspace? Yeah, so it's a guided meditation app similar to Calm. Some people might be familiar with Calm. The demo they showed was one where they asked you to kind of relax your neck, go in a circle beforehand, stretch it left, stretch it right, and then you get into the guided meditation. But you could also see very low-hanging fruit for spatialized soundscapes. So there's an app that Bose has put out there called Bose Radar, which I'll talk about in a second. One of the things that app does is it allows you to experience soundscapes. So what I mean by that is you press play on a beach scene, and suddenly if you close your eyes, the beach is in front of you. Maybe you hear some birds to your left, and if you turn to your left, the birds are there and the beach is still in front of you. And so it kind of auditorily transports you to that scene. Imagine doing that in the background of a guided meditation app, right? So you hear the campfire off to your left and like the owl hooting in the middle of the desert or whatever, right? And then you got this very calming, in the case of Headspace, British voice telling you, what to do in the meditation. There's a lot of potential there that's untapped to add to existing apps and enhance them. Music. This is a really interesting one. We're working with a number of artists on experiences around Bose AR, and inevitably a lot of those are music and sound based. The Bose Radar app I just mentioned, it's available to download if anybody has a compatible Bose AR device. And it does spatial soundscapes, but also we've partnered with a number of artists. BJ, the Chicago Kid, is the most recent one we showed off at Capitol Records in Los Angeles last month. And they have some spatialized versions of their songs, etc. So feel free to download that. It's free. Traverse is an app that we worked with Jessica Brillhart, who's a producer in the space, to build. And this actually is really interesting because it does indoor wayfinding. Similar to outdoor with GPS plus directional heading, it's indoor with ARKit and directional heading. And you can use ARKit, AR Core, Vuforia, to do plane detection on the ground if you have your phone out, and then you can get the head orientation on the head-mounted device using the Bose AR SDK. And so, for example, in Traverse, they have a number of these, what can I say, like musical scenarios, but one of them is that I like to talk about is Elvis. So you open it up, you do the plane detection, and then suddenly, like, a band is playing all around you, right? So it's not a circle, it's spatially located in the space. So Elvis might be here, and there might be the cello behind him, and to the right there might be the drum set. And so you really feel like you're walking amongst the ghosts of the band as they're playing, and you can hear them all around you. And it's very accurate because it's tracking your head position, and the phone is just sort of assisting with the general 6 DOF of it all, 6 degrees of freedom of it all. iHeartRadio, very simple demo where you can actually tune to different radio stations by changing your head, select one by double tapping. Something that's just, if you think about it from the perspective of I don't have to take my phone out to do this, may be interesting as a scenario, as a use case. And finally, last but not least, the source of a lot of creativity, gaming. These are 3 apps. One of them is about to be available on Google Play and I believe is already available on the Apple App Store, Overheard. Comrade AR is an interactive spy novel. And then Dead Drop Desperado is a 2-player game where one person has the phone and they're sending bullets and the other person has the device and they're dodging bullets by listening to where they're coming from. Fun little multiplayer game. But in the case of Overheard, what's interesting is this is kind of a weird game about where you have to launch cows at, this is actually the very wrong place to talk about this app, at French castles. And has anybody ever seen Monty Python? Okay, so it's like recreating that scenario in a weird way, right? So it's nighttime, so you can't see. For some reason, you're launching cows. You have this very stuffy, British-sounding butler person telling you how to do it, and then you have these French people stereotypically taunting the English people. You know, like, your socks stink, you know, that kind of thing. And so you're supposed to adjust the height of the catapult, kind of like Angry Birds, but invisibly, right? And then you double tap, it'll send you some nice sound effects, and if you hit it, they'll be like, sacré bleu, you know, whatever. And then the castle will go down. Or they'll taunt you again and say, oh, you missed, whatever. And then the British person will tell you, you know, how to correct, etc. Interesting stuff. All right. So building for Bose AR. Oh, wow, okay, I'm doing okay on time. I'm going to be egregiously over still. But this is just a brief window into what my team and our group does. So I run the advocacy team at Bose. We have a lot of developer advocates focusing on different programming languages, and part of the stuff that we've done are a bunch of code jams. This was one that we did in Boston. I want to show you a brief video of that.
We're here this weekend at Bose's offices in Boston, and we're doing a game jam with their new AR technology.
We've given the developers a brand new version of the Bose AR SDK and Unity plugin. It allows Unity developers to easily add Bose AR integration to Unity-based apps.
They've built a very intuitive system for developers like me to be able to just pop it into Unity and just go.
We give you access to all of the sensors that are available in the device. The accelerometer, the gyroscope, 2 different rotation sensors. They provide orientation of the user's head in world space. We can actually provide spatialized audio, which just gives you an entirely new level of context when you're making any sort of experience.
We're able to get all sorts of different types of information from the frame's glasses, which we can use to help develop new types of interactions.
We were challenged to create an augmented reality experience that put audio first.
It's very interesting to look at games from like a whole different angle.
Usually people think AR, they go, it's all visual, and this one, it's Bose, so it's audio.
The challenge really made us put our heads together and be like, what can you really do?
There's a whole world of sound, and we shouldn't just be paying attention to just the visual components.
So we've had a lot of really creative ideas that the developers have come up with so far, and I think some of the more interesting aspects are the different game mechanics or the user interface experiments that they're doing.
The game we created we're calling Sonic Samurai. You're the samurai and you can't see, but there are all these monsters around you, and you basically have to use the Bose headset to determine where the monsters are, and then you actually use your mobile device as your sword to strike at the monsters.
It's a game where you essentially try to dodge bullets that are sent from one user towards you. Imagine the Matrix, but you can't see the bullets that are coming at you. You can only hear them.
Our game is called Overheard. You play a medieval catapult operator.
Catapulting poultry and cows at French castles.
You're doing this all at night under cover of darkness.
So you have to use your ears to hear where the castle is.
When you point your frames in the correct direction, you can hear the French defenders taunting you,
daring you to throw things at them.
Your efforts are the waste of perfectly good livestock.
By turning your head and elevating it up, you actually modulate the angle that the catapult will fire at.
You are being bombarded by vegetables in a 360-degree radius. You can tell what direction the vegetables are coming from based on spatial audio. And you need to find and face the correct vegetable and eat it.
We're working on kind of a spy thriller game.
When you put on the Bose frames, you start to get radio chatter from secret agents. You start doing instructions to locate radar pings, defuse bombs, like James Bond and Mission Impossible in real life.
Duck now. Stay down.
Augmented reality is really one of the most important future mediums for design.
We're getting the tools set up in a way that allow people to start experimenting, and using something like Unity allows that iteration to happen very, very quickly.
It's an honor to be chosen to be here to work on this technology for the first time.
And also give developers a bigger idea of like what's possible with this stuff so that they can use our games as like a stepping stone for what's next.
Here we are at PAX East 2019. All 5 of these games are debuting for the first time anywhere.
People are having a lot of fun here this weekend. Lots of people dodging vegetables and throwing cows.
I always enjoy finding new games that are innovative.
I've never played anything just based entirely on sound.
I don't think I've seen anything else here that relies completely on audio and motion. No visual at all, but it felt really immersive and cool.
People are really getting a sense that the audio is real and spatial.
You felt like you were really there.
It's just a whole different experience.
It's more social. It really brings us back to where games really are, where it's with other people.
It's a fun ride on these classes.
We're changing the landscape of AR and games in America, and this is just a taste of what's to come.
It's very exciting for us to have that chance to impact other people's lives with the new technology.
The things that people are able to do over a weekend really inspired me to think we're going to see some amazing stuff this year.
All right, so in the interest of time, I'm just going to speed things along. There's a lot, I'm sure, that raises questions and that I could contextualize there, but I just want to give you a couple of fun examples. Again, the keyword here is experimental. I would argue that where we are with audio-focused augmented reality is Web 1.0 phase, link farm phase, like where everybody had a site on GeoCities, and it was just a bunch of links, right? And if you got an image, you were like a wizard. That's kind of where we are. It's early, it's experimentation, but it's very exciting, and we've seen things progress along very quickly. And this is a sneak peek at a couple of apps that came from a later game jam. Still not the most recent, that I think will also further help contextualize what the capabilities of the platform are. And then, I'm sorry, I just have a couple of closing words just to kind of put everything together. I know there's a lot I've put out there that will kind of help make sense of what we're trying to accomplish, why people might be interested in it, and why it might be an interesting platform for developers.
The Worst Grim Reaper, Soulmates, is an AR music game in which a singing Grim Reaper plays a song that responds to you and your world. Grim Reaper Sebastian is a character from another one of our games. He's tired of his dead-end job collecting souls and wants to pursue his dream of being a songwriter. Seeking inspiration, Sebastian asks you to let him write a song about your life.
Looking up, maybe lost in thought, kinda like me, I daydream a lot. There are things on the ceiling and in outer space. There's magic in almost every place. Hey, would you like to share your thoughts with me? Wanting to learn about the inside of the human skull, I ask what's going on in your soul. Okay. Are you maybe thinking about food? if it's not spaghetti or chocolate cake? Is it maybe the fact that the sun will someday explode and everything we know will go up in an ocean of flames? The human mind was less dark than I would have guessed. I tried to see inside of you once more. Oh, is it someone you like? As in like?
We imagine players using this app while commuting, exploring, or just relaxing. Through interacting with Sebastian and his song, we want to show players that even the smallest things in life can carry meaning. Sometimes we just need someone to talk to.
And the last video I'm going to play, I promise, we'll tie it all together, is totally different from the exact same game jam type of app. That's a Bose AR app.
Head Bop Hero is a music rhythm game that is about bopping and grooving your head to the music. Similar to other rhythm games, you score points by staying on the beat. At the moment, we have about a dozen custom written songs. In the future, we want the possibility for players to download hundreds of songs or play with their own music library. We're going to play Party in the Washing Machine. Our foxy friend here is grooving along as well. You could follow it, and he helps you stay on the beat. The line below is showing your head movements. It also changes colors to indicate how well you're doing. So we really intend this game to be a phone-in-pocket experience. We added both audio and tactile feedback. For example, the high-pass filter turns on when you're doing bad. And your phone vibrates with the beat when you're doing great. So the idea of Head Bop Hero came from us wanting to make a game that felt natural to play with the Bose AR devices. Something you can play while commuting on the train in public. The game was made by Brett Taylor, David Orr, Olga Andreeva, and Brian Hertler.
You can fast forward past this. Both of those apps were made in a single weekend at a game jam. Just to show you and illustrate that. Oh, I'm sorry, there's one more, but I'm not going to share it. This is kind of like a build your own song app using Bose AR, where you can kind of determine the tracks by moving your head and listening around, and you can kind of layer in an original song and you can save it. And it's done in a really artistic way. It's
Bumblebee
called
Jam is an
Bumblebee
explorer.
Jam. If you want to hear more about interesting stories from developers, we have a Get Inspired page where we're putting blog posts and soon some more video content on there. Feel free to take a picture of that. And just to sort of recap, to bring everything together, we're bootstrapping one of the largest XR install bases in the world, and that's not disingenuous, that's a fact. Over 1 million devices and growing. We're shipping every wearable we've made, and we're going to continue that trend with Bose AR in it. We have a worldwide reach, so as a lot of people don't play in certain places, Bose ships products pretty much everywhere in the world. So there's really large reach there, even for other platforms that have large install bases. There are particular regions or countries that maybe they won't support or haven't shipped to or haven't found success in. And then the other thing that I mentioned earlier is that users habitually use Bose devices. If you own a Bose device, you put it on your head a lot. And it's a lot less friction-full, is maybe the way to say it, to download an app and connect it via Bose AR to do something that may provide some use for a user. So from a developer perspective, Bose is also incentivized to help you. It's a free platform. Our business model is not we're going to make money off of developers. It's we want to create differentiators that delight and are useful for our existing customers and keep them Bose customers, right? And so when you win, we win, essentially. And as such, we're going to be co-marketing and promoting, just as I kind of just did with a few experimental apps at events. There's lots of opportunities. We have an app called Bose Connect, which is installed on over 14 million devices worldwide. if you've ever owned a QC35 or even the frames, you use that to kind of connect and manage it and rename it and do other interesting things. And we also feature a list of Bose AR in there now as well. So things like that. And then support. So I've got a whole developer advocacy team, multiple people focusing on different programming languages, coast to coast in the US so far. In the future, we have plans to hire in Europe and also in APAC, Asia Pacific. And we're dedicated to enabling developers. So if there's a problem, if something's not working, we want to help people get to the finish line. Also, obviously, a lot of, all the usual forums, docs, guides, code. And then we have a certification program which enables the co-marketing opportunities, et cetera. And also will help make it less of a hassle to submit to the app stores because they have some gotchas, both Apple and Google, in terms of how you submit with a Bluetooth peripheral-enabled application, et cetera. We help manage all of that complexity. If you want to know more about Bose, and I'm sure I raised more questions than I answered here, I normally like to take a little more time on each slide and contextualize things a little further. Some might even say hit people over the head with the redundancy of it all, but this is the website you should check out. And thank you very much.